Hi again, everybody. Rob Kennedy from the Hoop Group, and once again we're talking recruiting. We finished up the live recruiting periods in April. We're now into May, and for those players who are seniors, we're getting a little bit farther along in the recruiting process. Most of you, hopefully, if you're seniors, have everything squared away. You know where you're going, you're all set, you're looking forward to your next journey as a college basketball player and as a student athlete. But for those seniors who do not have their situation squared away yet, just want to remind you that it's not too late. Certainly time's starting to run out a little bit, but it's not too late. I want to talk to those unsigned seniors about what you need to do now to evaluate what your next move should be. Some of you are still trying to make decisions between one school or the other. Maybe a school has been stringing you along, not quite sure if they've got an admission spot for you, scholarship. Well, now you need to turn the screws the other way, right? You've got to make sure that those coaches are being upfront and honest, and you know exactly where you stand with them, as well as admissions offices. Everybody's acceptances are out. Maybe you got put on a waiting list. So now it's time for you to ask those tough questions, maybe some help from your mom and dad or your high school coach or AAU coach to get those questions answered as well. You've got other players who maybe have gone through the whole process and you don't have the level recruiting you still that you think should. Two things, right? One is that a reality check? A lot of times what level you think you can play at and what your mom and dad think you can play at, and sometimes even what your high school coach and AAU coach think you can play at, is not reality. If all Division III schools are recruiting you, there's a good chance you're probably a Division III player. And there are great Division III players and all that, but you may have had your sights set on Division I. Well, 9 times out of 10, you might not be a Division I player. Now, that does not mean that people don't slip through the cracks or coaches don't make mistakes. We see it all the time. I remember Joe Alexander, after his senior year, didn't have anything going, came to a top 100 late in the spring, and there were Division II schools that weren't ready to offer him scholarships. He ended up going to prep school, ended up going to West Virginia, high major level. John Beeline realized what type of skill level he had, and he ended up being a lottery pick in the NBA draft. So there are always exceptions to that rule. But now, if you think that everybody's wrong and that you can play at a higher level, now what do you do, right? You get two things. All of a sudden you realize, all right, maybe I'm not going to play at this level, and you find the right fit, and you have a great career, and you figure things out. That's one thing. The other side of it is you still think that you're right and that you can play at this level and you want that opportunity. Well, now you got to start thinking about prep school, all right? There are tremendous prep schools all over the country with an opportunity for you to be able to get better, maybe get a little bit older, stronger. You and your parents have to make a decision. What is that extra year going to do for me? If physically you're not mature yet and you're going to get bigger, stronger, maybe a little bit bigger, then maybe that makes sense. Academically, I'm not quite to the level where I'm going to get into that school that's my #1 choice. Well, then maybe a year of prep school works and makes sense for you as well. If you're just going there because you didn't have what you wanted, you've got to ask yourself, what's going to change in the next 12 months? And if the answer is not much, then all you're doing is delaying the inevitable, okay? But again, as you get going, understand this. Every summer for the last 6, 7 summers, we've had kids that have come to camp maybe thinking that they were going to go on to prep school, or came to camp as seniors, grade 13 as we call them at camp, that don't have anything, play well, and all of a sudden they've got a scholarship offer, the right situation pops up, and now they decide not to go to prep school, all right? But if you've got questions about prep school, or you're trying to figure out if it's the right situation for you, again, as always, if you've got questions, comments, please email me at robk@hoopgroup.com.